So we're live. For the second time, we have Steve from the United Kingdom. So welcome, Steve.
Hi, welcome, Peter.
We've had a conversation before that hasn't been broadcasted yet because I still have trouble with rendering my files. I'm expecting a new computer to come in later this week or maybe early next week, and so I'll be catching up with a lot of my live conversations, and I'll to put those out. We already have a question. What's this about now? It's about it's going to be a casual conversation between me, an atheist, and Steve, a theist. We might have a few questions to ask each other, and we'll just take it from there.
Sure.
Conversation I haven't posted yet went quite well, but we lost a lot because the recording stopped mid-conversation. So maybe we can touch on a few of those things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, okay, so Steve.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Yeah, so life's good, thanks, Peter. I'm enjoying my time traveling at the moment. I'm in Istanbul at the moment, so enjoying the hot weather and the scenery. So I'm quite enjoying that. You know, life's good. And for you?
Life's always good to me.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Where I live in the eastern part of Holland, and we have a standard saying here that bad people always do well. So I think that'll apply to me.
Oh, good. I'm glad for that. How's the weather over there, by the way?
At the moment, today it was quite good. It has been raining for a couple of days, but they tell me summer is coming back and it's going to be a little bit warmer again. So I'm looking forward to that.
Ah, that's good. That's good.
You had a couple of questions for me, you said earlier. So let's start with those.
Yeah, sure. Just to start off with, because I've listened to your talks on your channel. I enjoy listening to your talks. I like your style of. You're usually very polite with people. You don't tear them to pieces in an instant, which I like. So, but I had a couple of questions because you said on your previous talks that you're third-generation atheist.
Yes.
Is this correct? This is your grandfather, father, yes, etc.
Yes. All my grandparents were atheists, and as far as even their parents were atheists. So yeah, as far as I have bothered to check, all atheists. We have one exception in the family, which is a younger sister from my mother. My mother had two sisters. The middle one married a man who's Catholic.
Yeah,
and they moved to Canada, and they're still Catholic. And so all my cousins there are Catholic as well.
Yeah.
One who came out, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, atheist. So right. he stopped believing.
Right, I understand. Just to quickly introduce myself, because I don't know who's listening. As you know already, we've spoken on Twitter and we've had a conversation before. My background was I was raised in a house. My mother used to go to church. My father didn't. At the time, he had drinking problems. He was alcoholic at the time, and he's no longer drinking. And I'm pleased to say he completely turned his life around. This again was through Jesus. So this is good news. My grandmother was a Christian. She was the old-fashioned Christian. As in Britain, in those days, you had like my grandmother. She used to go around the house singing hymns, and she was. I love her very much. She's passed away sadly, but I love her very much. She was an influence for my Christianity. I gave my life to Jesus when I was quite young, maybe 14, 15 years old. And then I went away from the church for a long time. So it's only relatively recently, maybe 4 years, 4 years, 5 years that I've been back in the church and so on, just to give people a quick background of where I am. So don't expect me to be a pastor or be an expert on anything. But I enjoy talking with atheists. I always enjoy debating and chatting and just finding out how different people see the world and see things. So I had a couple of questions. One of them being, first of all, because you define yourself as an atheist, Peter, but I'm always confused between agnostic and atheist. Because my understanding is agnostics say they're not sure, they don't know if there's a God or there is a God.
No. It's not mutual exclusive. So you have agnostic and Gnostic theists, and you have agnostic and Gnostic atheists.
And what's agnostic?
Means that you don't have 100% proof of something. So when it comes to a God, if you're agnostic, it just means that you don't have proof that God exists. And if you're Gnostic, that means you have at least for yourself sufficient proof that God exists. And when it comes to atheists, I'm an agnostic atheist, but I am a Gnostic atheist of the gods,
right?
Including the Christian God.
So just to explain a bit more, it's a genuine question. I always get confused. I can understand people saying I'm agnostic. I don't know if there's a God or no God. Is atheism saying we know there's no God, or is atheism is that the same as?
No, atheism is quite simple. Atheism is the rejection of all known God claims,
right,
for lack of evidence.
Right. So it is different.
It's not saying God doesn't exist. It's saying you make the claim, so you'll have to back up this claim for me to believe it. And so far, I don't believe it because you haven't backed it up sufficiently.
Sure, that makes sense. And then when did you first start to? Because, like you say, if you're raised in a home that doesn't have God in the house, the conversation about God, I guess, did the conversation about God come up, or was there no conversation about God?
No, not at all. When I grew up, the only people I knew that that were believers were a family living across the street. They were Catholic, and I remember at one point asking what a Catholic was, and the answer I got was they believe in a God and they go to church. And for me, no interest in it, so I didn't ask more. And they did, at least from my perspective, they did everything they could to hide the fact that they believed in a God, because things are a little bit different here. If the Dutch are about to eat, they will tell you we're about to eat, so you can leave now. And that.
Wow, you mean they would ask people to leave?
Yes, they're not likely to invite you in because they say the Scots are cheap. I think the Dutch are even cheaper. If they cook a meal, they cook a meal for the people they intend to have present at the meal.
Right.
And so if others are around, there just isn't enough food. So you're politely asked to go
Yeah.
because they're about to have dinner, but Catholics pray before dinner, and
Yes, correct.
so I never saw that happen,
Right. Okay. I
because
understand.
I always was out the door before that even happened, and so my first real contact with religion was when I was I'm not sure 21 or 22 when I joined the army, and my direct superior, the man was uh, I was working for at the moment, he was very religious, and he made us listen uh, to prayers and to testimonies and to sermons for the full 8 hours that we
Right.
were employed every day. So um, yeah, I was 21 at the time, and all of us there just made fun of it, and didn't take that much notice. But he took every second he could spend on it when we would have coffee breaks to preach and to try and convert us.
Yes. Yeah. I understand.
And but I still didn't do anything with it until I think 3 or 4 years ago, when I discovered Kent Hovind and started binge watching what he makes.
Yes. I listened to your
And
talk, by
that's
the way.
yes, and that's where for me it started with first my Twitter account, and so now my YouTube account.
Right. And was it the evolution thing for you that bothered him, or the fact that he was Christian? Which was there any?
The fact that what he was doing is denying known science,
Right.
and that he was also making the best effort he could to have that taught to children. And so, and that's where I drew the line, because I think children have a right to know the truth, and if science um, finds out stuff about reality, I think you should children and don't tell them lies.
Yeah, sure. I
And
can
so
understand.
that for me was the reason to start my Twitter account.
Right. And in Holland, do they teach religion in schools, or do they not teach this?
I've been to a public school, and nothing regarding religion is taught there. Um, when it comes to let's say history, some things were discussed.
Yeah.
So, but just very briefly, they wouldn't go in depth on certain things in dogma or religious teachings.
Right. But you don't have like a separate in the UK. I don't know whether they still do now. I'm 47 years old now, so I don't know. But they used to have in school, you would have a science class, and then you would have a separate class which was called religious studies, where you would discuss religion and religions of the world and things like this. They don't have the similar thing.
No, not in public schools. At least when I grew up, I'm not aware what they're doing now. I would expect it's still the same, and there is a kind of a class where social stuff is discussed, so it might come up there, but there's no specific class that's solely about religion. No.
Right. And then so I presume you never went to church.
No.
No. So of course it.
In my life, I went to church once, and that was when I was 24 or 25. We had a very good friend who was an atheist, but his wife was Catholic. she sadly died of cancer at a quite a young age. I think she was in her 50s,
Right.
and so she had a Catholic service um, before the cremation, and
Yes. Yeah.
that's as far as I can remember the only real church service I ever attended.
Right. And then reading the Bible, when did you start that?
When I started my channel,
Right.
so I think between 3 and 4 years ago.
Right.
Because when I saw what Kent Hovind told, I just wanted to check it. I wanted to go to the Bible and check what the Bible actually said. And so that's where I found out that some things that he says are true. They're really in the Bible, but there are a lot of other things that are completely not true, or things he skips because
Right.
they're a little bit inconvenient or awkward.
Yeah. He's got.
Uh, like the fact that the Bible states that the Earth is flat. Most Christians just skip that and or try uh, to change the definition of what a circle is. But yeah, there are a couple of things people like to skip in the Bible
Yeah.
because I think they're a little bit awkward.
Okay. Well, we can discuss some of them. Just as far as, so where do you stand now? As far, obviously, there's lots of Christians in the world. I'm a hands in the air, clapping, singing Christian. I love God, love my Bible, love everything to do with the Christian faith. I love Jesus. I love the church. How do you stand as far as, I can understand your point with Kent Hovind and evolution and denying the science and being frustrated and wanting to come back at that. How do you feel about the Christians in general?
I think maybe I'm different from the rest, but I like to judge people on their actions and not on what they believe or they might attend says. So and I think that became quite obvious when we had our first talk, because
Yeah, sure.
if I were to judge you on the beliefs of your church, then I would be a lot less pleasant. But I've known you for a while now. We've talked a lot on Twitter before we did our first talk. Normally, I don't do that because I want to. In a first talk, I want to cover as much as possible, and if there are things that we've already discussed on Twitter, then it's a little bit useless to bring those up in a live chat, because you just be rehashing what you already did on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, judge people on their actions and not on their beliefs.
But you've generally nothing against the Christians. It's not the, like you say, it's the individual and how they behave and how they.
It's the religion itself that at some points I think is offensive. It's not the people adhering to it, and it's not even their fault they're adhering to it, because if you're brought up with parents who believe in a God, then at some point that God becomes real. Your parents believe in it, so it must be real.
Of course, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's so.
Is that
there's a difference. And go ahead.
I was going to say, is that the same if you're raised atheist?
Well, I was never told that there is no God, so I think there's a difference. when I encountered religious people, and when I was because when I started living on my own, my mother lived in an apartment building, so and that was closed off to the public. You couldn't go in. But when I moved out and got my own house, I had a normal house. I don't know. You'll have to help me if houses are strung together in how do you call that in English? Because detached means it's standing free. Right?
Yeah, standing free. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, but what do you call the opposite?
We call terraced house, or it depends if it's joined to one other house. We called semi-detached.
Yeah, semi-detached. I didn't know.
Yeah, if it's like a row of houses all joined together, we call terrace.
Okay, I'll have to figure out what the Americans call it, because I still don't know, and I still keep forgetting people to ask. Okay, so I lived in a terraced house, and then you have the opportunity to have Jehovah's Witnesses come by, because they're the only ones in Holland that still go door to door to, as they say here, bring you Jesus.
Yes, absolutely.
Or bring you the light.
Yes,
that's how they call it. So, and I usually just made fun of those when they rang the bell, because I had my living room on the first floor.
Right.
So I had to go down to the door, and so if they made me do something that I hated doing, which is walking stairs, I at least got the chance out of it to make a little bit fun of them. And so at one point, I opened the door in my underwear, wearing a T-shirt. I'm a son of the devil, and from that point on, somehow they skipped my house, and I think they keep records, because I moved. I see them going up and down the street where I lived before, and they never rang my doorbell again. So
I'm not surprised, Peter. I'm not surprised. I'll give one shout out though. We have one guy. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I'm Christian. We have one guy. I have to take my hat off to him. In my town, we have a guy called Desmond, and I think from the day I was born to today, I see him walking up and down the street, knocking on doors. And if nothing else, hats off to him for his belief. I always say, I don't agree with his belief, but at the end of the day, the guy now's got grey hair, and you see him still every single day. He will be walking up, knocking on doors. So I always admire people. If they've got a belief so strong like this, I give him a shout out for that, even if I disagree with his belief. Mm-hmm. Just another couple of quick questions. We'll go on to a different subject. As far as, because you're saying you judge people on an individual basis, I've seen a few tweets that you sent out saying I would ban children from learning about God until they're 18 years old and things like this. Was that just a kind of a joke, or was that the real thing?
Sorry, I didn't catch it all. Can you?
Yeah, sure. What I was saying was, I've seen a few tweets of yours saying if it was up to me, I would ban children from hearing about God till they was 18 and things like this.
Yes.
Were they like light-hearted jokes, or are you serious?
Yeah. No, that I'm very serious about that, and there's a good reason too, because I had a DM conversation this week with someone who left religion.
Yeah.
Is an adult at the moment and is still struggling with the part that religion teaches you're going to go to hell.
Right. Okay.
And that has been taught, and I've now talked to a lot of people who became atheists, who are still struggling with that, because that's something that made an enormous impact, and that made an impact when they were little children.
Right.
So, and I think, to me, it's child abuse. If you tell a child that if you don't do as God says, you're going to hell and you're going to burn for eternity.
Yeah.
To me, that's child abuse.
So you'd ban it.
If I would have a child, and if I would say to that child, if you don't listen to me, you in the basement and I'm going to torture you forever,
Yes.
I'd be locked up.
Of course. And rightly so.
Yes, but religion can get away with that, and that's something I don't understand.
I think one thing, Peter, I'd say on that is you've got to understand. You have a you're talking. There's billions of people. If you take Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and all the other religions, it's most of the world believe in God. And each person, it's difficult to have every single person doing every single thing right. We're human beings. So I agree with you 100%. I've seen some videos on YouTube which are horrific. But for me, I don't blame God for this, or I don't blame the Bible for this, or I don't blame the church for this. There are some terrible people. There are some terrible people who
are. But why would it be necessary to have that rule?
There is no rule.
Because if you're going to be a good person just because you want to avoid going to hell, then you're not a good person.
No, I've never been taught that.
Or you're a good person for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, personally, I've never been taught that. I've never met anybody in England that's been taught the same thing. So but I have seen on YouTube videos of people saying this. So
I've met a couple from England that have been taught that. So that also happens in England.
Yeah, maybe it does, but I have certainly no experience of doing that at all. As far as the church, what do you think of the church?
I think the church is opposing science. I think the church is opposing progress in several ways. And I think that goes for pretty much every church I'm aware of.
But you haven't been to one?
No, but I don't need to go to one. I can go online, and almost every church will have a website with a statement of faith and what they teach.
Yeah.
So I can look that up.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to an actual church. If the church has a platform where they share those things, I can just visit that platform and read for myself what the teachings are.
And what's the teachings that you're against?
I'm against the church telling people that use birth control.
Right.
Because I think that's harmful in a lot of different ways. I'm against the church's teaching that children shouldn't have a proper sex education, because that again is harming them in later life.
Yeah, sure.
Churches rallying against, let's say, abortion.
Yeah.
Because the way they state it, I'm against it too. Abortion isn't a recreational thing. It's not something you do. You just get pregnant, and when you get pregnant, you have an abortion. That's not how it works. People who are getting abortions have a very good reason, and at least here in Holland, before you get an abortion, you have a physician who will listen to your reasons, offer you different options, and will guide you to what's about to happen, because to me it's still a serious thing to do.
Of course, yeah.
You're about to have a child, and to stop that from happening, I think that's quite a decision. And I've in my life, I've met one girl who was just 18 at the moment, who was in a relationship and pretty much got pregnant because the guy told her that that's what he would want to happen, because if that would happen, it would mean they would stay together forever.
Yes.
And that's why she got pregnant.
Yeah, it happens, that, Peter. You're
Yes.
right.
So, and at the moment she was pregnant for, when she found out, for a couple of weeks or days, I don't remember correctly. He wanted to end the relationship. That would mean that she would pretty much be on her own with a kid.
Yeah.
That she brought into the world for all the wrong reasons, and it would ruin her life, because a woman with a kid will not likely be having a new relationship soon.
Yeah, no,
because the one coming in has to accept a child as well.
Yeah, I can accept that. So,
and so there are very good reasons to have an abortion. And if a church just has a blanket statement that we're against abortions, period, so I think that's hurtful.
Yeah.
Harmful.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand why you say that. Anything else for the church? I'm just trying to find out. I'm just trying to find out, because Alex seems
science denial for one.
Right. Okay. So the evolution, back to the evolution.
We know. Yes.
Right.
We know it's a fact.
Yeah. When did you first discover evolution? When was you first taught this?
At school.
So at school you was taught this. Right.
Yeah.
In science class, I presume.
In primary school, when we discussed biology.
Yeah. I'm only trying to get.
We didn't have special classes. We had one teacher that taught everything in primary school. So she taught science, and she taught biology. And when it came to biology, then you get an explanation about where everything came from, and what we know about it so far.
Yeah. And did you question it, or did you just accept?
As a matter of fact, it became a hobby for several years. I was so interested in it, and I wanted to know more than I was taught at school. So the moment my parents gave me the okay that I could ride my bike through town to the Museum of Natural History, I got a year's subscription, so I could walk in and out I wanted to, and could stay as long as I wanted to. And I went there, I think, a couple of times a week. I spent most of the afternoon, Saturdays, strolling around and asking questions to the people that worked there. And that led, in the end, to the fact that I could go into the storage rooms and see the stuff that wasn't on display, and have people explain me things. So yes, I was very interested in it.
Ah, good. No, it's good. Well, it's good you managed to get down to the museum and things like that. I was just wondering, because I don't know whether how old was you when they started to teach you this?
When they started teaching me this, I think around 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Old. And when I started going to the museum, that was when I was when my parents trusted me that I could go that far on my bike without any guidance.
The reason I ask is, sometimes if I'm on Twitter I don't think we've had this conversation, but you get a lot of conversation on Twitter. When I tell people that my grandmother was Christian and that my mother went to church, immediately they say you was indoctrinated. You was too young to understand what was being said to you, and you accepted it on faith because it was a person of responsibility telling you this. This is the accusation I often get. I'm wondering, is it different for you or the same?
I don't know if it's different, but I could ask you a question to find out if it's different. Did
Sure.
you ever at that point started to do research that if what they were telling you was actually true?
No, I didn't.
And where did you do the research?
No, I didn't. No.
See, and that's where the difference is.
That's why I was asking the question.
I guess.
Is, like you say, when you was 8 years old, they told you that evolution is true. And
Yes.
at this point, you accept on faith. And then later,
no, you don't accept it on faith, because you have school books that explain it to you. You have facts.
But,
and not only do you have that, you have the Museum of Natural History to go to check those facts. We didn't have internet back then, so things were limited.
Sure.
But you could go to a library and pick up books on the topic. So there's a world of information you could check. But the same thing goes for religion. If they told you about a God, you could go to a library and find out.
Of course, yeah.
There are opportunities to find out.
Oh, sure. I'm paying you a compliment. I don't mean this as an insult. What I'm saying is, for most eight-year-olds, if they're taught something by the biology teacher and it says in the textbook, they'll believe it. I actually think I take my hat off to you for the fact that you went down to the museum and it sparked an interest.
I did that for most. I did that for more.
Yeah.
I think for everything. When I got a toy car, the first thing I did was turn it upside down to see if there was a screw underneath, so I could take it apart.
Yeah, sure. But
my first action was to take it apart to see how it works. When I got a toy train, I took those apart, and not always managing to get them back together again. So
yeah.
But I always wanted to know if people told me things and there were things that interested me. I wanted to know, so I wanted to find out more.
Yeah. Well, that's a good characteristic in somebody. I have a small nephew, Jaden. He's the same like this. But I'm guessing not everybody in your class did the same.
No, not by a long shot.
So most people would have just took what the teacher said and accepted it, and for the rest of their life they believe this.
They had the textbooks, and the textbooks did have opportunities, did have referrals to certain books and stuff they could look up.
Yeah,
I think it's just based on interest. If something doesn't interest you, you're not very likely to look it up. When I talk to Christians, a lot of Christians aren't interested in Islam, so they won't investigate Islam.
Sure. Yeah.
And they won't investigate what atheism is about. And they won't even investigate their own religion. And to me, that's something I never get.
No.
Because when it comes to evolution, it's art. When it comes to evolution, it's just a small part of reality. When it comes to God and when it comes to an eternal life, something a lot bigger and something worth more to investigate if it's actually true.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree 100%.
It's going to have more of an impact.
It's going to have a huge impact.
Yes, if there's an eternal life, it's going to make a lot more impact than whether or not evolution is true.
Yeah, I have a lot of conversations on Twitter about evolution. Me and you have had conversations about evolution and things like this. But like you say, for me, it's almost a side issue. It's not the issue for me. It's an important issue and it's interesting to discuss, but it's not the ultimate issue. The ultimate issue is, does God exist? And where are you going when you die? And how should you live your life?
So,
they're bigger questions.
Okay, but how would you find out if God exists?
Well, as you know from our first talk, I had personal experience. Not just one, but many, many personal experiences. So for me, this was my experience. I don't know whether you can find God academically. I'm not sure whether that's possible.
Okay,
I don't know.
But in or can we trust a personal experience?
Well, I think the challenge. This is why I'm intrigued with the atheists. I've no problem with them. I know we have some fun on Twitter and we call each other names and things like that. That's why I'm intrigued, because I see a lot of people looking for God. And the first question any atheist asks when you speak is, what's the evidence? What's the evidence? And I know some people personally, and they're going for like an academic approach to religion. They're trying to use almost an academic research to find something which is a spiritual, supernatural, which seems for me a little bit crazy. But I understand some people need to do that. But I'm not so sure if you could, by academic research, discover God. I think the only way you discover God is by submitting yourself to God.
I think there's a very simple test we could do. If I were to ask you, do you think that God interferes with, would you say yes or no?
Interferes with what? Sorry, Peter?
With reality.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, when he does, then he's coming into our reality, so that would leave traces we could investigate.
Well, you're assuming that this is a normal human thing, yeah?
I'm assuming nothing. If God can interfere with reality, then we would be able to see the traces of him interfering with reality. Now we can investigate it up until the point where it becomes supernatural, and that's where we can't investigate anymore. So find something that would lead us to something supernatural, but we could never answer the question, the God who did it, or something else, and if it was in fact a God, which God?
Yeah, sure. When you say we, who do you mean?
That's what science.
So
when I say we, I think of science, the scientific method, not
right.
not people in particular, because people in particular aren't that important. It's people making discoveries, but it's the scientific method that lets us make the discoveries. So someone who's absolutely not qualified could make a discovery that's 100% true, and people can check it and see whether or not it's actually true.
Yeah.
So the person making the discovery, and what's important is the argument a person makes, and if it will stand on its own merit.
Yeah, I understand. And it's almost, but am I right in thinking science, the field of science, deals with the natural world?
science is the one and only tool we have to determine reality. Yes.
Yeah, but it only deals with the natural world. I'll give you a real life example, by the way, so you can it may make it more clear.
Well, my follow-up question would be something else beyond the natural world, because we experience reality we can experience.
Sure, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a real life example. You can put it through your test.
Sure.
What you say with the church, a lot of what you say with the church, I agree with, but it's not my experience of church. The church that I go to does talk about sex. It doesn't. It's not a judgmental church. They do speak to people about safe sex and having relationships. They also counsel people with money and debt and so many things. But the experience of the church, as in, scaring children with hell and saying you will burn in hell and you'll go to hell for this, it's just not my experience at all of church. And I'm fortunate because my job makes me travel around the world. So I do get to, I visit churches in Africa, Asia, America, all over the world. I've never, ever experienced what you're saying, personally. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying I've never, ever experienced that or spoken to anybody except online where anybody's experienced the same as what you're saying. So that just say that first, because the church I go to is an incredible place. It's full of, my pastor will laugh, our church is full of ex-drug dealers and criminals and robbers and every walk of life you can ever imagine. We always joke it's the only place where a bank robber and a bank manager can sit side by side. But it's a place where it's not a judgmental place. It doesn't sound anything like the church that you described. But I'll just give you an example from my church, just because.
But also the things you just named.
Yeah.
Have nothing to do with religion.
In what way?
They have nothing to do with the Bible.
The Bible talks about finance, talks about relationships.
Yes, I know the Bible talks. I know the Bible talks about what I meant to say is all the things you just discussed aren't things that can only be done by a religious person.
No, I'm not claiming this. I'm not claiming that. That's not the claim that I'm making.
So yeah, to me, that's not part of a religion. That's not part of a belief system.
Well,
that's part of that's just part of people being social.
Well, I'd disagree, Peter, and I'll tell you why. If it comes to finance or health or relationships or work or depression or anxiety or anything, what we do is we turn to the Bible.
No, we don't.
So no, you don't. You don't, but I do. And the people in my church, we turn to the Bible.
And I would say that's the worst place to go to.
I can accept you're atheist, Peter. Of course you're going to say this. But what I'm saying is, when you say it's nothing to do with religion, it's 100% to do with religion. We go to our Bible to get the information of how to deal with this. But let me go back to my example.
How let's take for instance depression. How would the Bible give you any information to what's happening in your personal life, because you can't go to a verse or a book where your personal life is discussed?
I cannot.
You maybe can find references that come close to what you're experiencing at the moment, but you'll never get personal advice.
I disagree completely. This is where I wish I knew my Bible more.
How can you disagree? If you disagree, that means that every situation of every living human being is mentioned in the Bible, and it clearly isn't.
I thought you was. I may have misunderstood. I thought you were saying there's nothing in the Bible to deal with depression.
No, I said there's nothing in the Bible that deals with your personal situation at the moment.
I absolutely what. I don't know how that makes sense.
It can't be. You can't have every possible combination of circumstances because you'd have a book that's bigger than the biggest library we have. Because everyone's situation is different.
Unless it was written by God.
No, everyone's situation is different.
Well, let me give you some example. I'll give you an example from my life, so you can judge whether this is as far as the anxiety or the depression is concerned. The Bible covers this 100%. As far as finances, it teaches you how to manage your finances. Today, I was talking to 3 people who deal with agriculture in Pakistan, and we was talking about how to developing crops in Pakistan. If you go to the Bible, it teaches you exactly how to sustainably farmland. It tells you exactly how much land at either side of a field to leave. When I was struggling last year, I had a very bad year in business.
Stick to that. It also tells you can't have 2 different crops in the same field.
Yes, it will talk to. Well, I don't know all the details with the fields.
And you are aware that there are crops that will never grow unless you have different crops in the same field, because they wouldn't get pollinated.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I'm no expert on the as far as the farming side.
I'm just pointing out an obvious flaw in your reasoning.
Well, I don't see it as a flaw. I'm not a.
Yeah, there is a flaw, because for those particular crops you can go to the Bible, because the Bible will give you an advice that will make sure that your crops will never grow.
Okay, sure. Can you give me the verse?
I can't give you the verse. I know there's a verse in the Bible that forbids you to have. I think it's in Leviticus, that forbids you to have 2 different crops in the same field. It's in, I think, in the same book, that forbids you to wear clothes of different fabrics, and that forbids you to have tattoos, and that forbids you to eat pork. And so.
Does it say which 2 crops?
No.
Yeah. Well, send me the link. I'll have a look at it. But today
it just says you can't grow 2 different crops in the same field, and crops aren't specified.
Well, you'd have to send me that. I honestly don't know, Peter. I don't want to pretend that I know something I don't. But what I'm saying is, as far as even with the farming, I think it's the same section in Leviticus. It talks about how to sustain the poor, so the farmers would leave certain crops on the ground so that they could be collected by people. What I'm saying is, as far as every challenge I've ever faced in life so far since I've been a Christian, and I've been studying the Bible, and I'm still very.
But now
Let me finish.
I have to. Yes, but I have to interject, because the things you are talking about now are that people can make themselves. There's nothing supernatural in it. And the fact that I think most Christians aren't doing that. Most Christian farmers won't leave crops in the field for people that have no money to gather them. So I think that's a useless argument, because it doesn't say anything about whether or not a God exists. Because I don't dispute the fact that the Bible has things in it. It also has a lot of terrible things in it.
Yeah, well,
and when it comes to finances, it has devastating. Jesus in the Sermon of the Mount says that you have to sell all your property and give the money to the poor, and to make sure that you don't save up for the future. You rely on God to provide you in future. So saving money in a bank is something that Jesus was against.
Well,
which I think is which I think is terrible advice when it comes to finances.
Who did he say sell everything? Who did he tell that to?
He told that to a rich man. I know where you're going. The fact that people shouldn't save for the future, he told that to everyone, which I think is bad advice.
Well, you do. Do you know the verse where he said, "Don't save money"?
I don't have all the verses memorized. I read the Bible twice, and when things come up,
yeah, of course, I don't know it either.
To look it up and to go to the verse. Sure. There are a couple of things that I remembered because those were the things that reject offhand, and over time I think I'll be able to memorize more verses.
Well, I'm in the same process now, Peter. I've only been studying it for a while, and some of it sticks straight away, and other parts I have to refer to. But for me, the Bible, when you say it's, I'm not quite sure what you're saying. Are you saying that the Bible doesn't cover all the things that's happening in my life now?
The Bible doesn't cover your particular combination of situations and events in your life. It might cover several of the things that are happening in your life, but it won't cover a combination of all of those. And when you give advice, you need to know the combination of every event that's taking place to give the best of advice.
Okay, sure. Give me an example.
Give you an example.
You're talking about a combination. I'm trying to work out what you mean.
When you're in a dark place, you should step into the light. That's good advice, right?
This is your advice?
No, I'm asking you. When you're in a dark place, you should step into the light. You consider that good advice?
Depends what the dark. Do you mean a dark place as in depression?
See, now you're asking for more information, and that was what I was pointing to. Be in a dark place because you're hiding from, let's say, criminals. You could be in a dark place because you're hiding from some vicious animal outside that's trying to eat you.
Correct.
There are a lot of reasons where that particular advice would be horrible.
So I think if I understand,
and so that's what I meant. That if you want to give advice, you have to take into consideration everything else that's going on at the moment.
Right. So if I understand you correctly, you're saying you're picking out certain verses. You're not reading the Bible as a whole.
No. I'm saying that when you go to the Bible for advice,
yes,
you are picking out verses. But those verses won't cover the situation you're in. They will cover one aspect.
Well, I think we may have to agree to disagree.
And by getting advice there, everything in consideration, it could be that you're giving the complete wrong advice.
I'm not giving advice, Peter. I'm not in a position to give.
No. I'm talking about advice the Bible would give you.
Yeah. So far, the Bible's never let me down. Every piece of advice that when I've gone to the Bible, I pray, I ask for God to help to guide me. I go to the Bible, and whatever I've been suffering. Last year, I suffered some financial problems. Business was quiet, and I faced some financial problems. I became a bit down over this. I go to the Bible to give me help. He gave me help.
What help did it give you?
Because it talked about faith. It talked about that. It talked about how you have to it's basically talking about you have to focus on all the things that are good, that are pure, that are holy, that are wholesome. And every day I would wake up, I would read the passage, I would start to then focus on all the blessings in my life, focus on my wife, my family, all the good things that I had going. And just from this particular, let me finish.
It didn't give you advice to solve the situation. It gave you advice to be at peace with the situation.
No, what I did this time when I was going through this, I looked at the book to say how to deal with this situation. I'm not interested. Once we get to know each other more, you'll see money. I'm not interested in money. What I was bothered about how to deal with the.
You said you had difficulties financially.
Yeah, which
and you went to the Bible
to look for how to.
You went to the Bible. Then yes, but then you started listing things that would make you at ease with the situation, which I think is not a bad thing, because then you'll be able to focus on the problem and maybe solve the problem. But it didn't give you advice to solve the problem. You had to figure that out.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. What it said was trust in the Lord.
So why didn't you mention the advice the Bible gave you to improve your financial situation? What advice did it give you?
It gave me the advice
to improve.
It gave me the advice to pray, to ask God with an honest heart.
What advice did it give you? What advice did it give you to improve your financial situation?
I just told you.
It told you to pray to God.
It told me to pray to God, to trust.
So if I now at this moment would pray to God, then I could expect money coming in from anywhere.
I have no idea for you, Peter. That's between you and God. I can only talk about myself.
It's not between me and God, because it wouldn't happen.
It did for me. So I don't know, for you it may or may not. For me it did.
Yes, it did for you, because you probably took action in some way, because your mindset at the moment.
Well, it's not what happened for me.
But what didn't happen was the Bible giving you specific advice your financial situation, and that's what I was saying.
The Bible.
I don't object to the fact that the Bible could give you comfort, but the Bible, what the Bible would give you on comfort, people could do that as well. You don't need a Bible for that. If you have the right people surrounding you, they will do that. You wouldn't need the Bible.
Sure. Peter, I'm not denying what you're saying. As an atheist, what you're saying makes perfect sense.
That has nothing to do with atheism. It's just
well,
it's just a plain fact, and it has nothing to do with anything supernatural either, because nothing supernatural stepped in.
Well, it did for me.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And the fact that you deny that, and you think that some actions in real life can be attributed to a God, okay, that's fine, but that's something you'll have to prove to me before I would believe that. Because just assuming that a God did it isn't enough.
For you.
Not for anyone. The fact that you accept it is a sad thing. It's a sad thing. The fact that you don't look past is a sad thing.
Well, but the thing is, it worked.
I'm convinced that the one who got you out of the financial trouble was you.
But you haven't asked how I got out.
No. and I wasn't going to, because that's your private situation, and I know that you want to keep your privacy, so I wasn't going that way. If
Yeah,
you want
sure.
to share it, that's
Yeah,
something
sure.
you will come up with yourself.
Sure. I tell you, I want to give you two examples, because we started on a subject and then we moved on, because we're talking about the supernatural versus science. And I was going to give you an example earlier, but I'll also use this as an example. As far as the finance is concerned, as you know, I don't know whether you've had financial trouble. It causes problems. It makes you feel down. I was facing some financial problems, and when you do this, you start to doubt. You doubt yourself. You doubt your abilities. And I read the Bible, and what it was saying, I don't know the exact verse. What it was saying was, what you need to do is bury yourself in the Bible. Stick with the word. Stick with prayer. Stick with worship. Stick around Christian people who are going to build you up. And you need to focus on your blessings. Focus on this, and then you need to ask God directly for what you want. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I prayed directly to God, and I said to God exactly what I needed. And within, I think it was maybe 40, 50 minutes, something came, wasn't cashed through the letterbox. It was an email came through, which came through giving me it wasn't the exact figure. So I'm not saying it was, I asked for £6,000 and £6,000 came through. But what came through within 40 minutes of saying the prayer was exactly what we needed to make sure everything was solved. Now, you can say this is coincidence. You can say whatever you wish. For me, this is God answering prayer. And I can't prove that to you. I have no way of proving that to you, but I know.
I still wouldn't have enough facts to make a judgment, because I didn't know what came in and what the reason was for it coming in.
Because God answers prayer, Peter. That's why.
No. That's a little bit too fast for me, because that's not what happened. God didn't send you an email. I think we can agree on that.
Well, I'm not asking you to believe me, Peter. I'm just saying what happened.
I'm saying the email you got was not an email from God, right?
No, it didn't have his email address. No,
it was from another person.
Yes, correct. Yes, I don't know if God has an email address, but it certainly wasn't from God.
And you didn't share the reasons why this person sent you an email. You didn't share the contents of the email.
No.
I've nothing to check.
Yeah, sure.
But you also didn't give me any evidence that God must have been involved in this, and how.
Let me give you another one, Peter. I work with the Nigerian government, and it's a long story. I don't want to bore you with the whole story, but let's just say it went very wrong. I said something to somebody very important in the government, and as a result, they fired me, get rid of me, and didn't use me again. It's a complicated story, but to cut a very long story short, 4 years later, I was sat in a hotel room in Malaysia, and I prayed to God for an answer over the situation. This is 4 years after I've ever had anything to do with the Nigerian government. I prayed to God for an answer. Within about 15 minutes, the text came, and it was from the Nigerian government giving me the answer that I was praying for. Came from somebody in the government over in Nigeria within 30, 40 minutes of praying. Now, again, you can say this is complete coincidence. For me, it's God. I have no doubt whatsoever it's God. This happens over and over and over again to billions of people every single day.
That was the first time you prayed about it.
That was the first time I prayed about it. This is not me, Peter. Yeah. This is not me. If you decided to go to church, you would see this thousands and thousands of times per year.
What I could do is say that due to evolution, we are prone to find patterns, and we will find patterns where there aren't any.
I agree.
So, and yeah, I still don't have enough to even respond to that, because I don't have all the facts, and I can't ask you for all the facts, because that would mean disclosing
Sure.
your complete privacy, and that just wouldn't work.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying, Peter, is these things are happening every day. All in Holland right now, these things are happening today, tomorrow, the day after, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, but you will never experience them. Because what you're looking at it is you're looking at it as a scientific experiment, and you're dealing with something supernatural. Science only deals in the natural world.
I had a similar experience this week, and it didn't involve God.
Maybe yours did or didn't. I don't know.
I want to step up on my channel. I want to add video, and I want to add video of the person I'm talking to. I want to have a virtual studio. I'm not making that much money. I just get by because I'm not interested in money.
Sure. Well, we're similar on this.
So everything I do for my hobby, which is my Twitter account and my YouTube account, from somewhere, and for me that usually comes from small favors I do for people.
Yeah.
And so this week I got a camera, a webcam. I looked for a good one, and I put small amounts of money aside to buy it. So I bought a very good camera this week.
Yeah.
And when I came home, I found out that I have 5 laptops. They weren't powerful enough to do what I wanted to do on YouTube. So what I had to do is start saving up for a better computer that could actually do what I wanted to do. And a few days after that, I got I had a client, and he brought in another person that I did some work for, and I didn't expect anything of it, and he gave me an envelope with money and said, "Here,
good."
I had to spend more if I had that done by someone else.
Yeah.
Here's my gift for you." So yesterday I called the guy where I buy all my computer stuff from, and I told him to assemble a system for me that will work.
Fantastic.
And there was no God involved. It was just me helping someone out, and that someone was grateful I helped them out, and let me share in the money they saved that way.
Sure.
So that's how I got my new computer, and God wasn't involved. It was just me, someone I thought I could help out.
Good. Well,
someone being grateful.
Number one, hats off to your friend. What a great guy to do that. Who's given you the
well, my friend wasn't involved. He just told me, "Hey, I've got another friend, and he's in a bit of trouble. He needs help with something. Can you help him?" So I helped him.
Well, hats off to him for this.
And it and now I say friend. It actually is a client I had, who's also I think a very good person, because he was able to sponsor an event that I'm help hosting for a good friend of mine in October, and so he sponsored, I think, around 300 euros worth of material to make a stage set. So
now there's
I'll have to say the client is a Christian.
Wow. I was going to say, Peter, and this is, you can take this as you wish. You know, because you're atheist doesn't mean God's not in your life.
And I beg to differ, because I talk to some of the people, at least, when they ask me what I do, and sometimes I'll because I'm honest, I'll tell them what I do. And so they know I have an atheist Twitter account, and they know I have an atheist YouTube account.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't mean.
So no, but I like honesty, and so they know what I do, and they judge me for the person that I am, and I judge them for the person they are, because I've also met Christians who are completely the opposite, who were trying to take advantage of me, and see if they could get stuff for free or have me work for free.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's my experience has been, it has nothing to do with the religion. I have Christian friends, I have Muslim friends. It has nothing to do with the religion. It has to do with the person. The people that I most likely end up hating are the people that are only good because of their religion, and because of what their religion tells them how to live their lives.
Sure. Well,
because those aren't the good people.
But let me just say one thing, Peter, because
and there's one simple thing out of this, because it might be a nice conversation, but I don't think it's going to get us anywhere, because you cannot name me one thing that a Christian can do, one good thing a Christian can do, and an atheist can't. On the other hand, you could name me a lot of things, a lot of bad things that a religious person could do and an atheist couldn't.
Well, let me just say this to you, Peter, as far as, and I'll answer your question, or the other statement that you just made. God loves you because you're atheist now, and because you have your atheist channel going, that doesn't mean God's not in your life. He loves you just the same as he loves me. There's no difference between the two people. He doesn't hate you and love me. He loves you just the same as he loves me.
And the same goes for Allah, because I have been told that.
And he's working in your life just the same as he's working in my life. So there's no difference.
So now the Christian God and Allah both exist, because they're not the same.
They're not the same, no.
So now we have two. So now we have two existing gods.
Well, there's only one God, Peter.
By your definition.
There's one God, but
no. You said God works in my life. I had Muslims tell me that Allah was in my life, and Allah was guarding over me, and because I was a good person towards Muslims, I was rewarded by Allah. So,
and you're more than welcome to have a conversation with them.
Yes, but if you are correct, that means they are correct.
Explain that to me so I can understand.
Because they come from the same backgrounds. You and you both come from the same background with the same reasons.
Yeah,
because you believe in God. You tell me that God's in my life.
God is in your life. And he loves you just the same as he loves me, Peter. He doesn't judge me and say, because I'm a Christian, he loves me and he doesn't love you. He's working in your life and he's working in my life just the same, regardless of whether you believe or not. The only difference is now whether you choose to accept this or you choose to deny this. That's the only major question at point.
Okay. I'll have to tease you a bit at this moment, because
feel free.
I have the chat running on the other computer.
Sure.
Which is telling me that video was interrupted. I'll just have a check here.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not. It probably was a glitch in the other computer. So we're still on. I was afraid that God was interrupting now and canceling our chat. So
hey, he stopped us last
that's
time.
how I.
He stopped us last time. Who knows?
T-shirt.
Maybe we'll do the same.
Okay. So let's go to a different topic. Let's go to science.
Okay, perfect.
We were talking about evolution, and then we veered off in a completely different direction, where we went to what the Bible says about depression and finances, and we pretty much left the evolution part back, and that's.
Let me tell you where I stand on evolution, by the way, just so you're clear. I do believe that there is evolution on a small level. I don't believe in the what would you say, the stuff that's taught in the schools, which is that it started in this soupy pool, and then abiogenesis came and a cell popped out, and
that's not evolution.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't believe in this at all. I do believe there's small changes which evolve. I do agree with this, so that's where I stand.
Okay. I'll have to see, because I'm names, and I keep referring to this guy and I keep forgetting his name, so I'll have to check my my links.
Yeah, no problem. Don't worry, Pete.
And that doesn't help me either.
While you're doing that, I'll talk. While you're doing that, I'll talk.
Well, what I was going to get at, by any chance, did you see the Is Genesis History movie?
No, I saw on your Twitter. I saw on your Twitter feed, and then today I was going to have a look. This afternoon when I finished, I thought I'll take a look, but I didn't get the chance.
I mirrored it.
Yeah, I will take a look at it.
My channel. I mirrored it on my channel, so yeah, I'll leave a link in the description, and I'll send you a link because I have it mirrored.
Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem.
In this, I still can't call it a documentary because it isn't. There's a guy featured, a biologist called Todd Wood.
Right.
He's someone. He's not only involved in this. He's also involved with, I think, Answers in Genesis. And he about how the kinds were on Noah's boat or Noah's Ark, and how there's no evolutionary tree, but there are orchards and stuff like that. And so he made a clear case for what the Bible says about how we got here.
Yeah.
There's only a slight problem. He also has a blog where he writes. And in 2009,
I saw it. I know the article. Yeah.
You know the article.
Yeah, he says stop saying that evolution is not a fact. It is a fact.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the article. Yeah.
He wrote that in 2009.
Yeah, that's correct.
And in 2017, he's lying to people.
Why is he?
He's lying because on his blog he states that evolution is a fact.
Now, Peter, we had this discussion.
That everything that at the moment is fact. And he goes on to write that he will never, even though he knows it's fact and he checked it, tell people that because he believes in God and he believes that the Bible is God's word, and evolution goes against the Bible. So he has to discard facts.
Amen.
That's what he writes in his own blog. He, in his own blog, admits that he will keep on lying to people just because there's this book called the Bible that he can't get around.
Now, how come me and you read the same thing? I never saw him say that he would lie. I read the same article as you.
Yes.
What he said was evolution was a fact. Agreed 100%. That's what he said. He also said that he believed that God made the earth. The earth was 6,000 years old. And he stated his case very, very clearly. He actually put a full list. Here's what his beliefs was. But, like me, I agree. Evolution is a fact. So I don't see the big argument here. The difference is what you think evolution means and what I think evolution means. That's the difference. What do you think evolution means?
What do I think evolution means?
Yes.
We'll have to distinguish, because evolution is just a term that can be used in different cases. I think
Exactly.
what we're talking about is the theory of evolution in biology, right?
Yeah. I tell you why I say this. Twitter's full of people.
And that means that's a summary of facts, of laws, of different theories and hypotheses that is used to explain a part of the natural world, and in this case, the diversity of life.
Sure.
Much what it sums up. Evolution is change in allele frequencies in a population over time.
Sure. And there's, you know, you hear the argument on Twitter all the time. If a father has a son, does the son identical to them or they are slightly different? Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm asking you is, at what point how far back do you go? Do you go all the way that we was once an amoeba, a small cell that then
we weren't an amoeba. The first life forms, we might never know what the first life forms were, because we're talking about one-celled organisms, and they have to be preserved somewhere. So we might find them, we might not find them. But if we find them, we still can't go to complete DNA to verify if they are the first. But
Correct.
we don't need to. We don't need to.
Correct.
Because with what we currently know about DNA, to have 100% proof that all life is related. So we don't need the very first life form. All life that we know of today still in their DNA, and we can still go back and see that we're all related.
Amen, Peter. You're finally coming out.
And that's enough. The DNA evidence alone to confirm evolution, but it's not the only thing that confirms evolution.
Peter,
we have experiments confirming it. We have paleontology, geology to confirm it. We have lines of evidence all pointing to the same conclusion. And that's where we can conclude that what it's leading to is actually a fact. And the fact that we can reproduce it under laboratory conditions is enough to confirm it. It has predictory power. By knowing how we can find out intermediate species, and we can find out where we have to look for those intermediate species. And one that was found as predicted by the theory of evolution was Tiktaalik. We knew where we had to look. We knew in what time, so in what layer we had to look for a fossil. And when they looked in that particular layer, they found Tiktaalik, which is an intermediate between fish and amphibians. So it isn't only DNA. Everything involved in life on this planet thing. Funny enough, nothing points to Noah's Ark. Nothing points to the Earth being 6,000 years old. Nothing. There's not one shred of evidence. Nothing at all. And Answers in Genesis is trying to find evidence and can't come up with anything. The Institute of what is Creation Research or isn't coming up with anything. No one so far has presented one shred of evidence that would point to a 6,000-year-old Earth or Noah's flood. And Noah's flood, when I talk about Noah's flood, we should have evidence of a worldwide flood that we don't have, evidence of a population bottleneck 4,000 years ago that we don't have. We have cheetahs, for instance, had a population bottleneck from, I think, less than 100 surviving animals. And that was 12,000 years ago, and they are still struggling from that bottleneck. And that bottleneck can be found in their DNA. It's not that we don't know, we know. We have evidence against Noah's flood. We have evidence against Adam and Eve because we have our DNA to check it, and we know how to check it and how to identify it.
And all the evidence that you just gave then leads you to what conclusion?
All the things I just summed up leads us to the conclusion that evolution is a fact. We all share a common ancestor. All life on Earth does.
Amen, Peter.
Plants, for humans, for bacteria, for viruses. And last year they found something, and that's, to me, was quite interesting, because they found something that would point to event of abiogenesis, something that could be not related, and they're still doing research on that, and I'm awaiting what the outcome will be. That would be the first thing that we find on this Earth that isn't related to us, so that'll be interesting.
You know, science likes to make predictions. Let me make a prediction. I agree with you 100%, Peter. Every single living thing on Earth goes to a single point. The only difference is you choose to. Every single thing goes back to God, as far as I'm concerned. Every single thing goes back to where, to who, or what for you.
No.
No, it's a question,
No.
Peter. It's a question.
Because there's a difference. There's a difference between your prediction and the prediction I just gave for finding Tiktaalik. The prediction to find Tiktaalik was based on evidence, on hard evidence. Prediction proved to be correct. If you say I make a prediction that everything comes from God, now give me all the facts you have that support this prediction, because you don't have anything. One book.
Now, Peter, let me speak now.
You have no facts. You have no findings. You have no scientific results. Nothing. All you have is a book that says so. And that's not how science works.
I totally agree.
Because that wasn't how they found Tiktaalik.
Can I speak?
Sure.
No worries. By the way, I totally agree with you. As far as it's not scientific at all. I'm never claiming it's scientific. That's not what I'm trying to say, or anything else. Anything to do with the fact that I'm trying to present you scientific evidence. There's other people.
So how can you make a prediction if you don't have facts?
What I'm saying is, my Bible says every single thing on this planet goes back to a single point, which is God. So far, every single piece of scientific evidence that you've just presented goes back to exactly the same point.
No, it doesn't.
So where does it go back to?
It absolutely doesn't, because your Bible says that everything was created separately.
Right? By God.
By God.
Yeah. Now, so far.
And we now know, first of all, that things didn't poof into existence. It gradually evolved into existence, which is the opposite of what the Bible says. And we have a time frame that's vastly different from what the Bible says.
You've just stepped out of science. Why don't you go back to science?
No, I didn't. Where did I step out of science?
You said we know. We know was your statement. We. I asked you earlier, what do you mean by we? And you said we is the scientific community.
The scientific community, the scientific consensus, the scientific method.
Sure. So you're saying we know that the very first life forms on Earth was done singular or plural?
Sorry?
The very first life form. The very first life forms on Earth, the current scientific consensus says it started as a singular, or it started as a plural or multiple?
The very first form of life were rudimentary blocks that replicated. Which weren't even cells, but were RNA, so as far as I know, that led to a more complicated form, which would be something along the lines of rudimentary DNA, then formed the first single-celled organisms. And from there, it diversified in multicellular organisms, and to there are instances where single-celled organisms would a community where later on cells started to specialize in parts, and it the research on that isn't that far, but it could be that that's how different organs goes by single-celled organisms joining together and performing different tasks.
Sure. Well, go back to the.
I'm not the one who could explain it all. I have a friend, and I would be happy to refer you to him, because he studies it, and he recently started doing live chats as well. So I'd be happy to hook you up with him. He also started on a video series to explain evolution to lay people. He's writing a book on it. So
Jackson Wheat.
Jackson.
Yeah, he's a good. I listen
Great.
to him. Yeah, I listen to him. He's a good guy. He knows his stuff. Yeah, and he certainly knows his. He knows his stuff, and I take my hat off to him. I don't know how he manages to store that much information in his head. It's incredible.
He is. And I'm 55, and he's a lot younger than I am, and I'm still learning from him every day, and I'm thrilled I met him, because he can teach me a lot that I don't know.
Yeah, I listened to a talk with him and Kent Ovine, and I was very impressed by him. He knows his stuff. He's a good speaker. He knows how to debate. I'm impressed with him. The only disagreement I have, and you're a big one. You always talk about being honest. All I ask is for people to be honest. At the moment, you do not know what you claim that you do know. You do not know how the first life form on Earth was formed, and neither does Jackson, and neither does any scientist.
Okay, no, and I can tell you where science stands on that at the moment.
Yes,
we know that life can arise from non-living materials, because done, and that has been done without influence from the outside, just by replicating what we so far know about the environment in which it happened. So we at least know it can happen. We know that life isn't something special. Life is just a chemical process, and that's,
and you honestly believe.
And that's, for people, I think, very hard to believe, grasp, because we're with the fact that life is something very special. And although I don't think that it in any way diminishes the fact that it's something special, but it is just chemistry. And we also know now that the universe as such contains everything needed. So the fact that we might think that we're the only ones in the universe, I think is silly, because if life arose here, it can arise in similar or maybe even completely different. It just depends on the chemistry.
Hallelujah, Peter. I think you're finally coming round. So we so far agree every single thing on life goes back to a single point. We also agree there's not just us here, there's something else here. But you're getting closer every day.
Yes, but there's one thing we'll never agree on, and that's supernatural, because there's no evidence for anything supernatural in the universe.
My life is full of
There's
evidence.
nothing. There's no
You don't accept the
people.
evidence.
No. People think there's evidence. So far, no one has come up with concrete evidence that points to something supernatural and cannot be explained in any other way.
No, Peter, you still misunderstand one major point. What you're looking for is scientific evidence for the supernatural. But I don't think you understand the difference between the two things. The definition of science is the study of the natural world. So how can you ask for scientific evidence for something that's supernatural? It doesn't make any sense.
If something supernatural can have an effect on the world, we can see that. We can
how
we can investigate that.
How? You're using scientific methods which study the natural world.
We would need an event supernatural interfered
that left a natural trace
with our natural world, and people have made claims that happened. Or it hasn't happened. No one has come up with a claim that we could actually investigate.
No, you're going back to the same mistake, Peter.
Why not?
Think what you're saying now. You're saying that a supernatural event, you want to be tested by a science that studies natural nature. That doesn't make any sense. Let me give you an example. I was going to give you the example before. A guy came to our church maybe 8 months ago. He's a heroin addict. He's coming off heroin. I don't know whether you've experienced of drugs, but people coming off the heroin, he's in agony. His body's in agony. He prayed. He asked for healing. In our church, three people laid hands on him, and we asked God to heal him. He was instantly healed. Now you tell me how science is going to prove that. Science can't prove that's a supernatural event. This happens every single day, all over the world, in every single country of the world, and yet
and why? And why?
Because
has no one involved in this event stepped up, gone to a hospital and repeat the very same thing under laboratory conditions where people could actually monitor what is happening? Why do we not see faith healers in hospitals?
No,
if they're so successful, then why do faith healers don't hold office in a hospital?
Every single hospital that you walk into, you will find somebody praying for somebody. Every single hospital.
That's not even remotely what I just said.
Yes, it is. You said a faith healer. What's a faith healer?
No, I said.
What do you mean by faith healer? Do you mean somebody who prays to God and asks for healing?
You just described a healing.
Correct.
Present at that healing, involved, yes or no?
Could you say again, please?
You just gave an example of a healing.
Correct.
Who was present?
I don't know, maybe 50 people. There was 3 people praying for him, but the rest of the people were praying for other things. But let me just ask you a question.
What's your evidence that the prayer was successful?
The fact that his pain had disappeared.
Okay, now we have his pain has disappeared. What's your evidence for the fact that it was the prayer that caused it?
Yeah, it could have been. If I'm being what would I say? If I was being skeptical, I could say that at the very moment people laid their hands on him, just by chance, his pain disappeared, just by chance. For me, that sounds ridiculous.
That's an argument from ignorance.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous to me.
It's a fallacy, an argument from ignorance fallacy. I don't know of anything that could have caused it, therefore God.
No. What I'm saying is,
I asked you, what is your evidence that it was the prayer that caused it, or that it was God that caused it? What's your evidence, other than, well, we did it, and so it must have been? That's an argument from ignorance fallacy.
You can say fallacy.
By definition.
You can say fallacy all day long, Peter. What I'm asking you is,
fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. It's how we get to truth.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If somebody is full of pain, now bear in mind, this is not happening once. This is happening to millions of people all around the world on a daily basis. If somebody is in pain and they say, will you pray for me? And you pray for them, and at that very moment the pain disappears. Now, let me finish the sentence. Is that more logically to do with the prayer, or is that more logically by chance? You're the one who brought up logic.
Yes. Logically, we don't have any reason that it's the prayer that caused it.
Or that it isn't the prayer.
No, I said logically, we have no reason to assume that it was the prayer that caused it.
And I say logically, you have no reason to say that it wasn't the prayer.
No, but the burden of proof is on the one who makes the claim.
Ask the guy.
If you make the claim that the prayer caused it, then you have to provide the evidence. Provide evidence against it, because I'm not making a claim. I'm just saying I don't believe you.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm not asking you to believe me.
And no one so far has been able to come up with any evidence for this.
Peter, you said nobody has any evidence for this. If you walk into any church in Holland, England, Africa, China,
tell me, why does an ambulance take you to a hospital and not to a church?
Because I don't.
Because if I have to believe you, then there's an entity that's more powerful than any doctor and any medicine in the world, and that's God. So if someone is hurt, why not take them to a church instead of a hospital? Why even bother with hospitals?
Well, because we're
if it's that easy, if it only takes prayer, then why even bother go to a doctor?
Well, in our church, what we teach and our pastors teach us is
I'm not asking what your church thinks on this. I'm asking you as a person.
Yeah, and that's what I was answering the question.
If you were in an accident tomorrow, where would you like them to take you? To a church, so people can pray over you, or to a hospital where doctors can attend to you?
To a hospital.
Okay. Now, if you let's hope it never happens, Steve, and I really hope it never happens. Let's say you develop cancer tomorrow. Where do you want people to take you? To a church or to a doctor?
They will take me to the hospital. They will take me to the doctor.
No, I'm not asking where they will take you. I'm asking you, where do you want to be taken?
I will be taken to the hospital, and then the first phone call I make will be to my pastor.
No, I ask you, you have a choice.
I've just said I would go to the hospital.
You have one choice. If you develop cancer tomorrow, will you choose a hospital or will you choose a church? If it's left to one single choice you can make,
it would be God. Yeah.
And you think you have a better chance of healing than in a hospital?
Well, the scenario is ridiculous because we don't have one choice. What I would do in reality is I would go to. Let me finish.
That's what I'm trying to point out, because you would choose to go to a hospital and have the prayer,
Of course.
But we have studies done, and do you know what the outcome of the studies were about prayer over people that were sick?
I've seen I think 2 studies. One was done on, I think it was 35 Mormons, and I saw another one done which was done on 70 people. Yeah, I've seen the 2 studies.
Then you missed the study that I'm talking about, because that had a lot more people in it, and they had control groups in it as well.
You know, Peter,
and you know what the outcome was?
Go on, tell me, please.
The people who were told that no one was going to pray over them had a better chance of recovery than the other 2 groups. And the group that had the less recovery was the group of people who knew there were people praying over them.
So let me
and we're told this up front.
So let me ask you a question now. With my own eyes, I've seen people being healed in Africa, in Asia, in the Middle East.
I've seen people being healed.
Now, please let me finish. Now, also, you know, and I know what I'm saying is true as far as this point. I'm not saying you have to believe me. You know that there are millions of people around the world, and have done for 2,000 years, claimed that they've been healed. You agree with that much? I'm not saying you agree.
They claimed, yes.
They claimed to be healed. Now,
that they claimed, yes.
Exactly. Now, what you're saying is one scientific study said that they're wrong.
No.
Yes.
No. I've said before, and that's my biggest argument, no one has provided any evidence of a healing by a God. No one.
Okay, let me finish my point first, Peter, please.
What you have is assumptions, and you're free to have as much assumptions as you have, and you can make claims all day long. But when it comes to actually proving that that is what happened, that's a whole different thing. And I just want to address the chat, because I just saw someone pop up who might be talking to me in future, which is my 77 cents.
Sure.
He criticized me and said I interrupt too much. I know that's a flaw of me, and I'll try to keep it down a little.
It's okay.
And he compliments you with your patience. So I think we're both equally patient, but we're also both frantic to get our points across.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank him for his comment. It's good when you 2 people speak passionately. That's all we're doing.
Well, I know my 77 cents is a Christian, and he agreed to do a live talk. He still can't find the time, and that's no problem with me, because I appreciate everyone who agrees to a live talk. I just wanted to point that out, and I know I have a tendency to interrupt a lot, so I'll try to keep it down a little.
It's okay, no problem. The only thing I'd like to say, this is the point I was making. We're not going to agree on the issue. I accept that. My point was this: if you have millions of people around the world claiming to be healed, and also millions of people who are praying for them, who see this and witness this, I'm not saying you have to accept this, Peter, at all. What I'm saying is, you know that the people claim this. Now, What I'm saying now is, you've read a study, a scientific study, that denies the claims of those people. But what you've done now is you've chosen to accept the scientific study over the millions of people's experience of doing it. That's your choice. You're totally entitled to choose that. But that doesn't mean that those people aren't healed.
No, sorry. I have to interrupt, because what is actually true is not a choice. You can choose your own reality. Straight that quite easy. And you a white sheet of paper. And the fact that you can choose all day long to say that's a black piece of paper doesn't change reality if it's in reality just a white piece of paper. You cannot choose your own reality.
Okay.
That's impossible.
Let's go with your scenario now then, Peter. Do you choose to believe the survey, or do you choose to believe the people that say they've been healed?
Neither of them.
So explain
because
that.
I don't choose.
So explain that then.
I can go to the survey and I can go to the record that was made during the survey, and I can go to the results of the survey, and I can go and see the actual numbers that were involved. Those are facts. To do with people, nothing to do with the people that were in this survey, nothing to do with the people conducting the survey. Those are just facts. And those facts were noted.
And you choose to believe them?
Accept them, or just do as if I never read them. Choose to do the honest thing, that if there is actual evidence, I have to accept it, even when it goes against my own case.
So you are making a choice?
No, I'm not making a choice. Yeah, I'm making a choice to either be honest or dishonest. For me, it's the exact same choice that if you hand me a white sheet of paper, you're giving me a white sheet of paper. I can also lie and say it's black. I choose to be honest and say it's white.
I think, Peter,
if I had a choice, I would say the Bible is a terrible book and there's nothing good in it. Lying. Because I have to accept there are actually good things to be found in the Bible. And that doesn't help my point. But it's a fact. It's a fact I cannot deny. There are things in the Bible that are good, but there are also a lot of bad things in the Bible.
Sure.
I see, when I see religion, it's the bad things that influences people that don't actually Bible, that don't actually hold the same belief that the people that are influencing other people's lives. When it comes to abortion, when I see in America that religious people have made it that abortion is not available in some states. When I see that religion has made it a legal fact that a woman who was raped cannot have her baby aborted, nor can she deny the rapist access to the child. That's something you can have your belief with it. Now you're influencing other people's lives who do not share the same beliefs. I think you're crossing a line.
Sure. When you say you,
so it is not about believing in things. It's accepting facts. And I accept facts, even when I don't like them. Here tomorrow that I have cancer, I won't like it, but it's a fact and I have to accept it. I cannot choose to have my own reality and say, hey, well, what? I'll start believing in God and God will cure me. So as far as I'm concerned now, I don't have cancer because God will cure me. It's not going to influence any of the facts. I have cancer at that moment. So I'll be needing a doctor and I'll be needing treatment. And
I don't deny that. By the way,
I don't care if people pray over it, because as far as the facts are concerned, that doesn't help. So
okay.
You can pray or you can choose not to pray. It won't make any difference for me.
Okay, can I speak?
Sure.
Okay, number one, Peter, when you say, when you was talking about abortion and a rape victim, and you're saying when you do this, I don't do any of those things. So it's not me doing this. That's some people that are doing this, not me. The second
religion doing it.
This is
That's what
again.
that's what I said. That's what I said. I didn't accuse you of doing it, because I know you wouldn't.
No, that's not me doing this. Now, second thing, if heaven forbid you got cancer tomorrow, please go to the hospital. God makes doctors. Yeah? God makes medicine. Every medicine that no, please let me finish.
Yeah, but okay, but I'll have to interrupt, because God doesn't make doctors. Science makes doctors.
Okay, you believe that, Peter, if you want.
No, I can even show you. I can go to a university where they are studying medicine up front, and I'll take any bet you want to throw at it, that in no class in medicine the Bible is taught.
I agree.
The only thing that is taught is, so God doesn't make doctors, science does. God would make them, then the Bible would be a textbook.
Sure. I think you misunderstood my point. What I was saying was the people who become doctors are made by God, just as you are and just as I am. I don't mean
another claim, which is another claim for which you have no evidence.
No evidence that satisfies you. I have plenty of evidence.
No, because I could go with you to a doctor and ask him where he came from, and he could point to his parents. Either they're still alive, or there would be a grave, or there would be records.
Sure.
At no point he will be able to show me any evidence involved in him being here at this time. Well, so that's a claim. That's a claim you cannot back up.
Well, let's go with your argument of, you know, what you said about the piece of paper and the choice. Let's go back to this point. For me personally, in my life, with my own eyes, I've seen people. So don't interrupt me just for this part. With my own eyes, I've seen people being healed on almost every continent. I've seen people being healed. Now, I'm asking you to accept this. I'm saying I've seen with my own eyes. When I've prayed, I've received answers to the prayer. When I'm in a church, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm in Istanbul now. I'll be in Zurich next week, in a different church next week. I will see people being healed, speaking in tongues, all these things all over the world. Now, if you was me and you'd seen these things with your eyes, would you believe them?
No.
No? Then this is what I'm saying. Now, so even though you see them,
let me pick out just one of them.
Sure.
One you just mentioned, speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
You travel all over the world.
Sure.
I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We find two people speaking in tongues, people who don't know each other, and have them live on my YouTube channel. I will make a prediction that if we have two people on there, one who's talking and one who's listening, the one who's listening will never be able to tell me who was talking was actually saying, because that has been tested. People who are speaking in tongues just making sounds. It's not a language. And when you go read the Bible, and you go read the Bible correctly, it actually doesn't say that it's some bizarre language from the Holy Spirit. It actually says that people were speaking different languages, different existing languages. So what the Holy Spirit supposedly did was make these people able to speak in languages they never knew. So if the Bible is correct, we could set up another experiment, call in, and I know you can you understand a few words in Dutch, have the Holy Spirit take over and have a conversation in Dutch. And you will be, if the Bible is correct, you will be able to have a clear conversation with me where you can answer me in Dutch. So I'd be happy to test either one of those.
Okay, I'm sure somebody will take you up on your test, Peter. I'm certain they will.
Oh, I hope so. I really, really hope so, because that if that would ever happen, I think that's where my channel will take off.
Hey, and if it happens the other way, you'll fall to your knees and pray to Jesus, yeah?
No. No, and I will give you the reason why.
Go on, please do.
Because let's assume the Bible is 100% true. Because if I would fall to my knees, that would mean that at that point, I'd have to accept that the Bible is true. Let's say that happens.
Okay.
Then my first question would still be, does God endorse slavery? God not only endorse but commands kidnapping and subsequent child rape and child sex slavery. Those are things in the Bible you cannot ignore.
Okay.
The Bible is clear on this, and the Bible is even so clear on this that in the fact where I'm talking about child rape, I'll have to look up the verse.
Yeah, please feel free.
In that verse, or in that chapter, it's also revealed that there weren't enough children to serve as sex slaves.
Say again,
so what
Peter,
God did then, so there weren't
enough out a little then. Just say again, please.
There weren't enough women children to serve as sex slaves. So what God did then was find a tribe nearby, and they tricked more virgins into an ambush so they could be taken as sex slaves. As long as that's in the Bible, that's a God I will never worship.
Okay.
because I could not sink so low as to worship someone is clear on that, and who in the entirety of the Bible never condemns slavery.
Peter,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about the slavery in the Bible, you're talking about which verse? Exodus or Leviticus?
You can take it's in Exodus, it's in Leviticus.
Yeah.
The rules are laid down. There are different set of rules between Hebrew slaves,
Correct.
actually, who weren't exactly slaves. They were indentured servitude.
Sure.
But there's also mere slavery. The Bible tells you where you can buy slaves, what you have to pay for them. The Bible tells you that you can pay half if the slave is a woman. The Bible lays down the rules of punishment for a slave. You can beat them as long as they don't die, but you can still beat them if they survive 3 days. It's fine, because, and this is what the Bible actually states, the slave is your property.
Correct. 2 days. Yeah.
And you can pass down slaves when you die as property. It's all there. It's not a secret.
No, I know it's not a secret. I know the verses that you're talking about. So I'm not one of these people that will try and deny that the Bible has slavery. Not at all. So you don't need to judge me as that I will try and deny that that's in the Bible. The particular verse that you're discussing, where it says if you beat a slave and he lives for 2 days, 1 or 2 days, I find troubling. I admit it. I find it troubling. I don't know the explanation of why that's in the Bible. I don't understand why that was written. So I'm not here to try and give excuses and why this and why that. I don't know. I pray about it and ask God to give me some help to understand it. But you cannot read the whole Bible and believe that that when you read the whole book, you cannot believe that any single Christian on this earth today is commanded to own slaves, beat slaves, all the other things that you said about. Now, let me finish this point.
That's not what I,
no, let me finish.
Yeah, but that's not what I said.
But let me finish the point.
That's not what I said.
Let me finish the point first, and then. Now, what I'm saying to you is, if the book in its entirety, clearly 100% certain, you would have to be stupid to read the book and think that it says anybody that's a Christian should be now having slaves, raping women, doing.
I didn't.
No, let me finish.
I didn't say that.
Okay, you continue.
You can try and defend that, but that's not what I said.
Okay.
So that's to me that's irrelevant. So to me that's irrelevant. What is relevant? The Bible at least gives you the option to own slaves. Moral thing to do.
Now, so I have a Bible in front of me here now. Does this Bible say that I should own slaves?
No.
What is it talking about then when it's saying slaves?
It says you can own slaves, and it specifies where you can buy them.
Me now, I can do this.
You can do this.
According to the Bible, I can do this.
According to the Bible, you can do it.
Okay, that's what you honestly believe.
I think you and I both know, because that's a documented fact, that the Bible was used to justify slavery in the United States, and that the Bible was used against and ending slavery.
I think you're correct on that. Yeah, I think the Bible was used by some people to
and
defend.
those people read the verses correctly, I think.
To be truthful, Peter,
It's not something I'd like to admit, but they read it correctly. And I that's not the only thing. I think the most honest Christians are the flat earthers because they read the Bible correctly.
okay, let's
Agree with them, and the fact that I disagree with the Bible is not a point. It really states the earth is flat. Who are believing that are believing what the Bible says, and they're honest. The only thing I can do is applaud them for their honesty. The fact that the Bible is wrong because they didn't write it.
okay. Let's go back to the other subject about slavery. I just want to clarify one thing, just to make sure we're both on the same page here. You believe that the Bible now that I hold in my hands tells me that I should be owning slaves, beating slaves, raping slaves.
No, you keep coming back to that, and I'll still keep denying that because that's not what the Bible says, and that's not what I said.
Okay, so it doesn't say this then. It says the passages you're saying, but it doesn't say that I should do this.
No, but it
Thank
gives you the option to.
Peter.
The option to.
Peter, how could you possibly say that and be honest?
Because it gives you the option. It gives you the rules where you can buy slaves for them, that you should pay half if the slave is a woman. It gives you the rules how you can punish your slaves. It gives you all the options. Slave. Nowhere in the book does it tell you not to own slaves. Nowhere.
Okay, listen to what you're saying, Peter. You're saying it tells you,
and even Jesus helps you on this, because Jesus told the slaves to obey their masters, especially the cruel ones. So you should be fine with owning slaves, because your God is fine with you owning slaves.
You know, by the way, we had this discussion on Twitter last night. It was we was having a bit of fun with the discussion.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know where the live. Sorry, I don't know where the live chat is at. My 70 cents just threw in. Of course, it doesn't, Peter. We're commanded to love our neighbors as ourselves.
Of course. That's
I think he's pointing to where we are now. I don't know where he is in the conversation, and I am fully aware. I'm fully aware that that's also stated in the Bible.
The truth is, Peter, you know for an absolute fact. I know you know this. You're not a stupid guy. You know that the not one person who reads the Bible in its entirety would ever be left with the impression that you can own a slave, beat a slave, have all the things that you said. It's impossible for anybody to do that. You know this. It tells us to love our neighbor. It tells us that we're equal. It tells us not to harm anybody. The Bible is full, absolutely full of things, if read in its entirety. Who was the book of Exodus written for, and why? Who was the book of Leviticus written for, and why? Because you know the story. You know the story.
Wait a minute. So now you are implying that the book of Exodus and the book of Leviticus
I asked you a question.
Weren't written for Christians today.
No, let me finish. I said, who was?
You made a claim. You said, who was it? Or you asked me a question.
Thank you.
Who was it written for?
I asked you a
question.
And
who was it applying to?
No,
yes.
I asked you. So please answer me.
You asked me. Okay, I'll try. As far as I'm concerned, everything in the Bible is written for Christians, because if it wasn't applicable to Christians today, it wouldn't be in the Bible today. Because as I am told by Christians, it's not my, I'm told by Christians that the Bible is the inerrant, inspired word of God, and that God promised to preserve his word.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if that is a fact, and there are things in the Bible that are not applicable today, then God says that that wouldn't be in the Bible because he would preserve his word as applicable today. And if we now are starting to remove entire chapters from the Bible because they're not applicable anymore, will tell me if we're removing the rights. Because who do you think is qualified to speak for God and tell me what's applicable and what isn't anymore?
Okay, let me answer. I'll answer this question. Let me just go back one point.
And I got something for from the chat from BJ Price. I wanted to throw in. The Bible also says God is unchanging.
Sure, I agree.
So if a rule is put in the Bible, then it's applicable now, or God isn't unchanging.
Sure.
And I'll have to thank BJ Price for throwing this in.
BJ Price, amen. Right? I'm happy he said this. God is totally unchanging. So it's nice when people recognize. I know a lot of people.
Steve, I have to interrupt. This almost never happens because I'm in the middle of the woods.
Sure.
There's someone coming at the door. I'll have to tell him to come back later because I'm in a live conversation.
No problem at all.
I'll just have to step outside a few seconds.
No problem.
I'm back. Someone wanted to borrow my trailer, so I gave him the keys.
No worries at all. No problem. Let me go back to the point, Peter. Just because it's a good point. Whoever it was on the feed who said God is unchanging, amen. I agree 100%. I think you may have, and this is not your fault. I think you may have a fundamental misunderstanding of the Bible. The reason I said I think you do know this already. You do know the fact the Bible's not all one book. You know this.
I know. Yes, I know.
Yeah, you know this.
Yes.
You know some things in here. You have wisdom passages. You have some passages which are history, some passages which are teaching, some passages which are poems, some passages which are songs, some passages which are psalms. You do know that it's not. You know this.
I know.
Right? Now, if you was to read the book from the start to the finish, it wouldn't be remotely possible, Peter, to even entertain the fact that you can own slaves, beat slaves. It would be absolutely impossible. You'd be stupid to even believe this.
But
does it?
History proved that people did.
I agree, and it's a shameful thing that it did. So I'm not defending the fact for what people did, but what I'm saying is,
I'll have to throw in a comment before it's gone. We have another person watching, Keith X. You, and I think I'll have to agree with him as well, because honest Christian about slavery in the Bible, he says, and I have to agree with him, because you are the first Christian. Tells me he knows that slavery is in the Bible, and who is having with the passages that talk about slavery. So I'll have not only commend you, but I just wanted to relay that from the chat, because the chat won't be available once we finish the conversation.
Sure. Well, thank you. I thank him for saying this. I don't deny, to be truthful, Peter, I think any Christian that's honest, when they read the Bible, there are things in here I don't understand. There are some things in here that are the particular verse about slavery that you're saying, it's disturbing verse. I don't understand. But back to my point, there is no Christian that could read the whole Bible and say that. This is if you're being honest, you've read the Gospels and you've read the Bible. I know you've done the study. There's no way this would. It's not taught in any church. It's not taught in any church in the world. It's not taught by
what you're saying doesn't go that against something else in the Bible.
I'm not sure what you mean, Peter.
Isn't there a passage in the Bible that says God is not the source of confusion?
Yeah, I don't think God's
or the author of confusion, I think it says.
I don't think anyone that reads the Bible.
No. I'm just asking you if the passage is there.
I don't know, to be truthful. It sounds like something that would be in the Bible, yeah. Although that's also in the Quran, so it may be you may have took it from the Quran.
No, because I haven't read the Quran cover to cover. I've read parts of it, but I haven't read it cover to cover, because I find any Muslims that are willing to do a live talk with me, or even me on Twitter. So I know for a fact that this is in the Bible. I can't give you the verse off the top of my head, but I know for a fact it's in the Bible.
Sure.
If that's true, then how come that you are confused? Because clear?
The Bible, yeah. That's good. It's a good question. I'm certainly not confused. There are some things that I don't understand. I don't know whether there's a difference. You see a difference between those two things. I don't understand why it says that you can beat your slave, and if he doesn't die for, I don't understand why that would be in. But
isn't that confusing for you if you think that God is all about love?
Not when I read the Bible in entirety, no. Because I read the whole of the Bible. I don't.
And there are parts you don't, and there are parts you don't understand.
Yeah, and I pray about them, and I ask God for guidance on them, and I ask for wisdom to try and understand them, and I try and do some research and see if I can find. I speak with my pastors and do everything I can to try and learn them. But it's
the only sources you will go to
is God.
Is a
God
source
himself?
that is in any way biased, or has at least a concern believing the things the Bible says. You're not going to look at an outside source, for instance.
I look at all sources, Peter. I think you know that about me already. Any link to all the sources, I read the whole thing. But the first thing I do is I pray. I go to God with the question first of all. Then I go to people who I trust. And the people I trust are my pastors, my church leaders. I ask them. Sometimes I ask them a question. They also say, sometimes they can give me explanations, sometimes no. That's just the truth. It's just me being honest with you. But you cannot possibly think that the Bible or any church or any pastor in the world is saying when they read this Bible, teach this Bible, that anybody should be owning slaves, beating slaves, or anything like that. It's ridiculous.
I didn't say that they teach it, because we know Christianity has been dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century and had to drop some of the things.
Yeah, I don't see anything's been dropped from the Bible. The Bible I hold is.
I think you grew up in a Western country. You grew up in Great Britain.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that when you were a kid and you were in history class, you learned about the Spanish Inquisition.
Probably, but I used to spend most of my time looking out the window. So, but I'm certain we probably did. Yeah.
Well,
I wasn't a big fan.
At least we can agree that for hundreds of years, the Spanish Inquisition killed people because they thought they were witches, or because they didn't believe in the Christian God. They had the most terrible ways of killing people and torturing people.
I fully agree. Yeah,
I live close to the German border. There's a church I think in Germany that still has the cages, bones in them, hanging from a church in the center of the city. People that were tortured and put in cages and hung from the church as an example, still there.
Yeah. Peter.
So the fact that Christianity evolved because of secular pressure, to me, that's clear evidence that what the Bible says has a lot of errors in it, because they stopped doing a lot of those things. We don't persecute witches anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
For the most part, we don't have exorcisms anymore, because we've learned that a demon possession is actually be cured by giving people psychiatric help.
Okay, Peter, let me speak.
So,
you may not be aware of this, and I know for a fact you certainly don't believe this, but there is a spiritual battle going on in our world. There are demons, God is real, and again, please let me finish. I'm not asking you to believe this, but what I'm saying is this is a very, very real issue. You don't see it.
I'll believe you the very first moment you can show me a demon.
No.
And for 2,000 years, the church claimed that demons are real, and for 2,000 years hasn't provided us with any evidence
again
of an existing demon.
Again, we're back to square one, Peter.
What science did was give us evidence that some things religion claimed to be caused by demons was actually caused by something else.
Yeah. Well, Peter, can you see we're going back to square one? What you're looking for is scientific evidence, and science is the study of the natural phenomenon, and you're looking at natural evidence for demons. Doesn't make any sense what you're saying. How can you possibly look for scientific evidence?
It does, because you keep invoking a world for which there's no evidence. And that's the supernatural world. And there's no evidence. There's no evidence for any of it. Not for demons, not for angels, not for cherubs, not for Satan. Nothing.
There's no evidence that you see. I see the evidence everywhere.
No, it isn't. It isn't evidence I see. Evidence is demon. So it wouldn't only be me being able to see it. Everyone would be able to see it, and we would calling Christianity a faith, knowledge, and everybody on the world would know God exists. If there was evidence,
almost everybody does,
would be needed. Faith wouldn't be needed.
Almost everybody does know God exists.
Not almost everybody.
Almost everybody, Peter. You're in the minority. Come on, you know this.
No, because I know for a fact that you are in the minority, because only 1/3 believes in your particular God. Only a third.
How many people?
1/3 of the population.
Yeah. How many people's 1/3 of the whole world?
And you're about to be overrun. So do you think when that happens, your God ceases to exist and Allah starts existing when more people believe it?
Oh, Peter.
Come on.
Peter.
Come on.
We've had this
the amount of people believing it has no bearing on the fact whether or not something is real.
Oh, Peter, get ready. We've had this conversation before. I wish you could just step into a church and see. I tell you what you'll see now. The church is growing faster all over the world than it's ever done at any point in history.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely is.
It doesn't.
I travel the world and see it. It's all
Christianity is on its decline everywhere.
Oh.
In every single country, Christianity now it's on its decline.
No, Peter.
Even in the United States, even in your home country in Britain.
Not at all. I tell you what is happening. I think this is where you make your fundamental mistake.
Well, I'm going by the figures that
I know the figures. I research the figures too. I look at the figures too. If you look in the UK, you have the Church of England. You have a Church of Holland, I believe.
No.
There's a name for it. What's the sort of the national church in Holland? I can't remember.
They're about to abolish that. They're about to abolish that, which is a fun fact.
Yeah.
The has a religion, and I think it's reformed.
Yeah, I think that was
I don't know the exact English name of that particular brand.
But I tell you what's
it's Reformed Protestant in any way, and we're about to take that out.
Sure.
The official Dutch religion, because more people now are atheists than there are religious people, and people are objecting to the fact. Place.
Yeah, well, this happens.
So they're about to take it out.
Well, let me tell you what's really happening, Peter. You like the truth. I'll tell you what's really happening.
Tell you a fact you like that it's really happening. They just okayed the first mega church in Holland.
Good.
Which will seat 2,000 people.
I hope you're on
that's
seat number one.
In an extremely religious city, and even people in that city didn't agree whether or not to have that church. So
Peter, I hope you have a seat booked for the mega church.
We have unpleasant facts too.
Get yourself booked into the mega church, Peter. Let me tell you what's happening. In Asia, in Africa, in Europe, there's a massive change in the church industry. In Holland, I know because I speak to people in Holland, there's a huge change in Holland. We spoke about it before. There are charismatic churches, Pentecostal churches appearing all over Holland, all over UK. I live on a long street, Peter, just on my street alone, just one single street. My church is now expanding from, I think, 500-600. We're going up to, I think it's 1,400 or 1,200 seater. There's a church maybe a quarter of a mile down the road that's got 700, 800 people. They're just extending theirs. There's another one, Christ Embassy, at the top of the street. They have around 900. It's on one street.
In the town I used to live in the past, 2 churches went up for sale.
No, they do. This is where the fundamental mistake comes in.
And I'll give you at least, because what is growing is creationism and the fundamentalist Christian approach to the Bible. That's growing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Yes, that is true. At least in Holland, it's true. It's growing, but it doesn't mean that people are going from atheist to theist. It's a change in meaning theists. Because those that want to remain in Christianity are the creationist, the young earth creationist part of it. The other part is leaving the church in masses still.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I think you're mistaken, Peter. If you look at
those are the plain figures. I don't have to be mistaken.
It's a mistake, Peter. I tell you the reason why. What you're looking at is if you go into UK, just type in Google churches for sale. You'll see lots of churches for sale. You see lots of them, no problem at all. I agree with you 100%. You can buy churches. Churches are closing down everywhere, no problem at all. But you think that's because the church is declining? Absolutely not. It's the opposite way around than that one. The churches are morphing into new style churches. The youth now, they don't go and take a church that has the big steeple and it's the stained glass windows. Our church is inside an industrial warehouse. The churches now are popping up all over.
I'm not. When I say that religion is on its decline, I'm not going by churches for sale. I'm going by the actual numbers that people get from a census, for instance.
Well, you like evidence, right, Peter? You like evidence.
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you drive down and go and visit some of them and see whether what you're saying is true or false? Because what you're doing is you're taking.
Why would I need to visit a church? People tell me biased things when I have secular figures on a census or on a survey figures.
I'll tell you why you should, Peter, because that would be
because if we have a contest, we have an unbiased referee, and the same goes like this. I'd rather have my figures from someone who doesn't have an interest in promoting or another. I would like to have someone who's unbiased and can gather the data that I need.
Sure. You said to me before,
and I think that's the most honest way.
Sure. I tell you the most honest way, Peter. You asked me a good question before, and you said, "Am I willing to look at the other side of the argument, or do I only take sources which have a vested interest in my point of view?" I ask you the same question. Are you willing to go to the churches and check them out, see whether they do this, or will you only take it from surveys that you find online?
Well, I've made an offer to a couple of people now, which are both in the US. So I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to to make my promise come true. You're in Holland frequently.
Yes.
If you're ever in the eastern part, I'd be happy and to accompany you to a church, as long as I can ask questions.
As long as what? Sorry, Peter.
As long as I can ask questions. If I'm going to a church and I have to sit down and shut up and take it all in and then go leave, then there's nothing in it for me. If you were to take me to a church and there was a sermon, you and I could speak to the pastor or the priest who gave the sermon, I'd be happy to go.
Good.
No problem.
Amen.
If you're ever in the eastern part of Holland, let me know, and we could set a date, and I would gladly come. But I want the opportunity to ask questions, because I will bring a pen and paper and I will make notes.
That's good. That's good. There you go. We have a deal. If I could put my hand out through the screen, I would put the hand and shake the hand. We have a deal. There's no problem asking questions. If you go to a church and the pastor doesn't want to take your questions, you're in the wrong church. Anybody that goes to our church and they have questions, they should be.
I agree. I fully agree.
Yeah, the pastors should be there, open armed, waiting for any questions that you have. I'll give my church one thing. I ring my church so many times and I ask them, listen, I'm stuck on this, or I have a problem with this. The door's always open. And that's how it should be.
Okay.
So,
but I'll have to warn you. You saw me on camera. People are listening now.
Yes.
See me on camera. You saw me on camera.
Very handsome.
So you know what kind of a guy you're taking to church, right?
Yes. No problem at all.
Okay.
You want to see some of the guys at our church? You've no problem there.
Okay. Because I've told people that I look like Lemmy Kilmister, and
it's true. It's true. You do. Yeah. It's very true. You do look like him.
A few people so far have seen my actual face. I'm reserving my doxing to another good friend, Johnny Drive-By. I told him that if I ever show my own face, it'll be on your channel, because
right.
I like the guy and I like what he does. So that's where I'll be in public for the very first time, and we might have to do that a little bit earlier than we had actually planned. But because if I get my studio ready next week, I want to do live talks with video. So
yeah,
that's the aim. Steve, listen, I think on 3 hours now. I think we should call it a day.
Yeah,
me too. I could talk for another 3 hours, but I think that'll hurt the views, and I think it's better to have a talk where people actually listen to the entire talk, and then do a few shorter ones. I wanted to cut it off at 2 hours, but I had way too much fun.
No worries.
Because talking to you is always fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too.
Talking to you is always fun, and so
I've enjoyed.
I want to talk to thank the people that tuned in. BJ, my 77 cents, Keith X. I'll have to scroll up a lot further to find the rest of the names. I'll just thank everyone who actually tuned in for their time. I'm thrilled that people are tuning in. BJ said, I missed seeing Peter on camera. Yeah, that's probably because we did that in a private chat we had before we went live.
Yes.
So BJ, it won't be long. You'll see my face. And
perfect.
So Steve, thanks for now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Whenever you have the time and you want to do another chat, I'll be happy to do another one.
Great stuff. No problem. Thanks for your time, Peter. I've enjoyed our chat, and thanks for everybody that's been listening. And yeah, let's do it again sometime. But you take care, Peter.
Okay. And you have a lot of fun in Istanbul.
Sure, I will. All right then.
Okay.
Bye bye now.
Okay. Bye bye.